charged in a deadly shooting. She's charged with voluntary manslaughter. State police say that this woman, Cassandra Dollard, shot and killed Robert Langley after a chase ended on Sunday. Langley was unarmed. During today's bond hearing, her defense attorneys pleaded for a reasonable bond, considering Dollard's clean record and service to the community as a police officer. Meanwhile, solicitor Jimmy Richardson said the nature of the crime warranted a high bond. Dollard attempted to pull Langley over after he rolled through a stop sign, following him almost 9 miles outside of her jurisdiction into Georgetown County. When Langley wrecked and then got out of his car, state police say Dollard fired one shot, which killed him. Langley's mother, Rosalind, spoke to the court about the impact her son's death is having on her family.
And I love my son with all my heart. And when they come and told me that he was killed unjustified, it killed me and his family. Nobody understands what I'm going through right now about my son. My son means the world to me.
Dollard was also issued a no-contact order with the Langley family. We took a closer look into Dollard's record for the State Criminal Justice Academy. ABC 15's Tanya Brown joins us live tonight in Johnsonville, where we understand Dollard was police chief there 20 years ago. Tanya.
Jennifer, that's right. Dollard spent some of her career in law enforcement in Johnsonville as the police chief. Now, lawyers for the man she's accused of shooting and killing say with her record, she should not have been able to move from department to department. Cassandra Dollard started her career in law enforcement in 1992 at the Williamsburg County Detention Center. She spent 8 years at the Johnsonville Police Department, 2 of those as the police chief. Dollard's training records say she was fired for poor performance. She then worked for Lake City PD and the State Transport Police. She was fired from there in 2014 for conduct unbecoming of a state employee and negligence in the performance of duty. Dollard sued for racial and gender discrimination and retaliation, saying she shot at 2 dogs with her service weapon while on duty to protect herself and shouldn't have been fired 20 days later. The Public Safety Department responded to the suit with a memo of performance, saying once Dollard was on a call, had become frustrated and visibly angry during the episode to the extent that she struck the motorist vehicle with her hand. The agency said on another call, Dollard was determined to have breached a number of state transport police procedures during this encounter, and the department said an investigation of her performance found she was displaying a consistent failure to follow STP procedure in a number of particulars, failing to call in traffic stops to communications, failing to document out-of-service drivers and vehicles, and failing to wear her issued body armor. Court records say the lawsuit was settled and dismissed. Lawyers for Robert Langley, the man she's now charged with killing, say Dollard should have never been able to work as a police officer after being fired from 2 agencies.
We've identified and we know that the officer has been fired or removed from 2 separate jobs that she's had in law enforcement, Your Honor. And that night was a culmination of a failure not just on her part, but on the state's part.
I reached out to the director for the State Criminal Justice Academy about how officers can be hired with blemishes on their records. He says they can when they're not fired for misconduct, and Dollard wasn't. Few people here in Johnsonville say they remember Dollard as police chief. They tell me they're anxiously awaiting the release of the body cam footage of that deadly shooting. However, it's not clear when or if that video will be released.
Well, new changes have been implemented at the Summerville Police Department. This comes after a 3rd audit by SLED.
A former officer is accused of stealing evidence and selling it to a pawn shop back in 2020. Our Amy Russo is live outside the department tonight. Amy, you heard from the police chief. What did he say?
Katie, Tessa, the chief spoke passionately about his department, revealing since the determination of former officer Wade Rawlings, there has been no evidence that has been missing from the evidence room. Now, we know that thanks to an audit that was completed by SLED just this week. The police chief, he also touched on the murder of 5-year-old Italia Lomelli Graham. That's an investigation that former officer Rawlings played a part in.
Anytime somebody tarnishes the reputation of not only their organization, but their profession. It cuts deep. It cuts deep.
Former Officer Wade Rawlings was arrested and fired from Summerville Police Department back in December 2020 after it was discovered nearly $7,500 was missing from their evidence room.
We initiated an arrest of our former employee. We submitted that person for misconduct to the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy. We immediately called the South Carolina State Law Enforcement Division and the First Circuit Solicitor's Office. In
SLED's latest audit, it was revealed just a week later the former officer allegedly sold 7 firearms to a pawn shop, all from the department's evidence room. The 10-year Summerville PD vet was the evidence custodian, which meant he was allowed in the evidence room by himself. Since his termination, the department has implemented new measures.
New leadership to oversee the evidence room. We purchased new refrigeration for biological evidence, acquired additional space to hold more evidence, installed security cameras in the evidence room. New mandate, which now requires 2 people to be in the room at the same time.
Rawlings also had a hand in the murder investigation of 5-year-old Italia Lomelli Graham.
But anytime you have a 5-year-old little girl who's murdered in her home, her sanctity, her castle, her safe haven is unacceptable.
Rawlings was accused of haphazardly investigating the scene after a bullet with Graham's DNA was found. Rawlings allegedly told superiors he did not have the proper equipment to find the bullet's trajectory and did not ask another agency for better equipment.
We will not tolerate bad behavior from our police officers. Maladaptive behavior will not be tolerated, and I will not tolerate violent crime in this town.
An internal investigation is ongoing. We know Rawlings has been charged with 1 count of grand larceny and 2 counts of misconduct in office. Anyone with information on Graham's death is encouraged to contact the ATF.
Well, meanwhile, ABC News 4 got exclusive access as ATF investigators sifted through charred debris.
Our Ann Emerson spoke to agents about what they're looking for that would clue them into what started the blaze. So, Ann, tell us more.
Well, dozens of ATF agents are here at the request of the Charleston Fire Department, and for security concerns, we've been kept at arm's length and on this side of the fence until today.
We're sending the best of the best here to Charleston.
That's Special Agent Brian Mean with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearm, and Explosives. They're investigating the Palms apartment complex fire scene.
Never seen anything like this in my career where this many people were affected without any injury. It's amazing.
But there are still many questions to be answered.
We treat it as a crime scene until we know it's not.
And at the request of the Charleston Fire Marshal, he's brought a team of 40 highly specialized agents along with an arson dog named Captain to help figure out what happened.
We're looking for any type of alert from a canine and maybe some ignitable or flammable liquid. We're looking for potential electrical issues.
They're sifting through the debris, piecing together a puzzle.
They have ways that they can look at these things and they can tell if the damage sustained was from the fire or the damage caused the fire.
So ATF has been on the ground, and what they're doing right now is they're actually going layer by layer. If you can believe it, they're actually on second-story evidence.
We're focusing on one particular area where we feel like, based on witness statements, that the fire originated from. And we're making sure that that's where the evidence takes us. We want to make sure that that's what the evidence is showing us, that it corroborates what witnesses are telling us.
Well, Amin says that his team is going to be here at least through this weekend, and they're going to be looking for the source of the fire. And they could be looking at anything from outlets to plugs to switches to toasters. Anything that they think could be evidence, they can box up and send up to that fire research lab in Maryland for further analysis.